Okay, we continue the mograph menu and reach to interesting mograph called Voronoi. The Voronoi fracture is for make it a view medium size, nice. The Voronoi fracture is for breaking any object to the pieces. So you can do with any object that you created from the software and bring it below the Voronoi. For example, I start with a simple cube. This is our cube and make a child on Voronoi. And as you can see, it immediately create a color for visualization to see the pieces. For better seeing the Voronoi, you have to use it to the dynamic. Some settings I not will be explaining it in here because I have to explain the tags that are bullet tags and the simulation tags for class and rigid body. And there you can combine the Voronoi with the dynamic. But in this series, I want to explain just the only Voronoi. But if you, for better understanding that, we need a little about the dynamic. Okay, I want to fall down this cube and break it in the pieces. So make it the graph shading. And I make this bigger and make it going down. And give it a color to better see that. That's nice. And I want to fall it down and break. Oh, it's too far. It's nice. Okay. For receiving the objects, you have to right click or go to the tag. In a bullet tag, I have to, as you can see, it looks like the wall. It means it's an object that received a rigid object. Collider body, and the tag is here. And in a Voronoi fracture, it's very important. In this command, you have to bullet tag rigid body. And it's very easy. As you can see, it fall down and break. This is the simplest way of the Voronoi, and it does automatically everything for you. Boom. Nice. So it's a very simple setup of rigid body, and as you can see, it's very complex setting that I have to explain in later in a previous lesson, in other lessons. Okay, if you go into the Voronoi fracture, as you can see, we have lots of tag that I have to explain in two lessons, part 1, part 2. Basic and coordination are the same, and the beginning from the object. Okay. I explain later mograph selection. It's simple. You can select some mograph, and if you use a cloner, but we begin from here. The colorized fragment is just a visualization of the color, and you can turn it on or off. Create n-gun surface. As you can see, if you go to the display garage shading, these are n-guns. But if you don't want to n-guns, we can turn it off, and the software create a polygon here. It does not break from there, but as you can see, they delete the n-guns for you if you want. So the breaking part is here, just there are lines. And the interesting part is the offset fragments. And if you turn it, increase it, as you can see, you can see the inside of that. This is a fragment, as you can see. As you can see, the object has a depth. Okay, you can see inside that, and you can make it fall down. Looks like this. Okay, this is offset fragment. As you can see, we have an offset and we have an space. Empty space here. If you want to invert it and have that empty space, you can click and invert it. As you can see how interesting this object is. Okay, you can invert it. Whole only, it means a depth will be disappear and just you have a surface. And in this case, the thickness of that surface will be turned on, and you can give a surface to your thickness like this. Interesting. Okay. and right click to make it 0. And another thing is hollow object. The hollow object, there are hole inside them. For example, for doing that, I bring another cube here and make it there. And as you can see, I explained the extrude before, and I make it editable. Going to the surface, and if you select nothing, it means select everything, right click, and this is an extrude. If you create a caps, it turn on. If you click and drag, you can create a if you go to this side and done, go this side. As you can see, going to the object, as you can see, we have a hollow object, hollow inside of object, and we have a thickness. Just the inside that cube is empty. So if you bring another Voronoi here and make this cube that is editable under that, it's the same, but if you go into the settings, if you have a thickness to that, now as you can see, we have a empty space in that cube, but it does not show in it. As you can see, we have a lots of problem inside. So in this case, you have to turn hollow object on, and now as you can see, the hollow only is turned off, but we have a hollow inside the object, empty space. So it's for that. Another setting is optimize and the close hole. For example, we have this object here, and we want to turn the segments and make it editable. For example, accidentally just a little polygon is deleted here, and we don't know that, for example. And we are going to create a Voronoi and bring it under the Voronoi, and we are in model mode. And as you can see, if you play it, in this case, you can optimize and close the hole. And as you can see, it automatically close any hole that you have. It's nice. In a scale cells, it's very interesting. If you delete that, the Voronoi, and here you can scale the Voronoi fracture or pieces in any direction that's interesting. You can you can right click to make it again to 1. So you can scale all of these fragments to the pieces to any direction X, Y, Z, and 1. If you have a lot of huge scene, you can save the result of the simulation or anything in a file, in your file that you save it, and after you open it, you can work with easily, but your file size will be increased, of course. An important part is update setting. As you can see, if I click and drag, automatically live update. And it is important if you want to see. Some cases you turn it off, and you can see your object does not update, and you have to update it manually. Why they are putting this setting here? Because in some cases we have a lot of explosion, a lot of dynamic, and you can just want to change the setting in a specific number, and then you want to update it, because if this is a light scene, but if you have a heavy scene, the light update needs a bigger system that you want. This is an object. Another interesting tab, an important tab, is source. It means in which source do you want to make this object to the pieces. If you delete the point generator, delete it, as you can see, we have no Voronoi, and it's a one piece object. So we need a source to break this object to the pieces. The first source here is distribution source, or we have a shader source. It's very interesting. Distribution source is the main source of that. It's a default source. If you click on it, and as we can see, it creates points, and in any points, it's center of an object. This is not about the distribution. It's in uniform. Here you can change that name here. Yeah, we have a different type, the normal, a different type of distribution. In a standard deviation, you can change it. You can change it to see your result that you want. In some cases, in any cases that you want, you can change the distribution in X and Y and Z if you want it. In some cases, if your uniform does not work, you can change it. But if you click on it, as you can see, if you unclick, if you don't have it, if you click it, you can, it's settings. And here you can decrease, increase, or decrease in the point amount pieces here. As you can see, if you need more pieces, you can see it here. Okay. And you have a seat, you can change the random of that pieces here. Inside and the high quality, if you have a good system, you can turn it on. This is on high quality. As you can see, if the objects like this inside that, and some points are and the fractures are offside, creating offside. But if the tick is inside, you can go in exactly inside of your object, and a high quality distribution. Okay, so very easy. Create point per object. If you turn it, as you can see, I explain it later in some project. But the interesting part is transform. Here you can transform the that pieces in any direction, or you can rotate them. Just rotate the pieces to change the pieces to the properties that you want. Or here you can scale it again. So interesting. So this is a first source. Another source that you can use is shader. The shaders, like before, that I explained in the fields. Oh, you can see it here. If you add a source, you can turn it on or off here also. Turn on or off if you select it. If you turn on or off that point is annoying sometimes that you want. Turn it off. And you can add a shader. And as you can see, this is a shader channel. It's like before. You can give a material to that and make a Voronoi based on that. But here is an interesting part. How powerful is this? You can use any noise gradient, anything that you want. For example, I want to explain a gradient. As you can see, we have a gradient from this option. The white part have lots of fraction and noise. You can turn out the points. As you can see, we have more, and in a with a gradient in a black area, we have less. So you can simply, as you can see, click and drag to change the properties of that. Interesting. Or load any preset that you want, or load in, for example, 3D linear or anything that you want. Bring them back. So you can use the noise. Interesting. In this part, you can all of this above the shaders that I explained in the material. But here you can define a noise like in a white area we have more dense fracture in a. You can change the noise properties, noise point. Interesting. Okay. Based on black and white, it creates a fracture in source. Interesting. Another power of this Voronoi is you can use any object as a source. I explained it. First, you can create a source by, for example, a rectangle. Make it smaller. You can add this source to create a fracture. It's very easy. You can click and drag that object as a source. And as you can see, you can create such these objects as a source for creating that fracture. Interesting. You can make it bigger, make it smaller, and see it changing. Or you can rotate it. Interesting. So this is a source for creating our fracture or Voronoi. Or you can use another object, for example, another cube. Make a cube exactly at the same position, turn it hide it and go to the Voronoi and simply click and drag. And as you can see, it's exactly change it to the, if you select the cube, here you can change the creation method that you want. Exactly like this. Sorry. Or you can have two. As you can see, you can mix them. Turn this off. And here, if you select it, you have distribution, event, any point you can delete, you can increase or decrease the point. A fixed point to the generator, it means they are fixed at the points to the generator. And if you move the Voronoi, the generator is means Voronoi. The pointer which we moved with speed with that. In some cases, we don't need that. That's it. Or, and you can, if you select the cube, you select everything, settings will be appearing here. This is an distribution, turn it on. It's based on vertex. It's based on the the create point on the edge of the centers or the polygon centers in the faces. If you play it, as you can see, it creates something like this. Or surfaces, it's like that, and you can change the point. In this case, it means it's like a point generator. The value here, you can change it. Nice. This is based on the this source. Another source that you can use it is like emitter. Interesting. You can go to any object in Cinema 4D that you can combine them together. This is the power of the Cinema 4D. Like emitter, you can add emitter as a source. Interesting. As you can see, this is an emitter that emit object. You can crank it up and rotate it. And as you can see, if you play it, we have an, oops, in the wrong direction. Nice. As you can see, it's shooting that object if it fall down. And if any particle reach to that cube, it will be make pieces. Click and drag emitter to that and see what happened. Interesting. As you can see, it's creating the pieces if you touch it. The touch it cube. Interesting. So this is an emitter. You can use the clone or everything that you want as a Voronoi. For example, we want to use a cloner. Select the cloner, make the cube clone of that, and then under the Voronoi, and as you can see, this is our cloner. You can take, as you can see, there are different objects that the Voronoi is there, and they make them a part, all of the cloner together. And because of the dynamic, you can change the dynamic. We have a lots of setting there. We need a shape to, for example, moving mesh to better simulating it. Okay, it's about the setting of the that. Okay, just I want to select, as you can see, I want to give you the object, the mograph selection. Here you can go to the mograph, and here the mograph selection. And if you click it, as you can see, you can select the mographs. And then, as you can see, we have a mograph selection here. You can add a shift to add it, or hold it alt to turn it off or subtract it from the selection, or clear if you want. As you can see, if we selected these objects in a selection, in a mograph selection, you can go to the Voronoi and just tells the comment that just select, accept the Voronoi to that object that we selected. You can click and drag selection. I think we have some mistake there. Yeah, you have to first select the cloner. For any confusing, turn the Voronoi off and go into the mograph and mograph selection, and then select this, for example, 3, holding shift. And as you can see, the selection just have to be on a cloner, and then turn off the Voronoi. And we just want to accept the Voronoi and these 3 objects that we selected. Go into the Voronoi and click and drag this selection tag on a mograph selection. As you can see, the Voronoi just executed in these three objects. Or you can paint a weight. Okay, you can clear it. Okay, this is a cloner that you can see it. Delete the cloner and back to our Voronoi. And okay, this is a source. You can drag and drop any source here. Interesting. Okay, this is part 1. Hello my friends. To continue these tutorials on YouTube, subscribe us, like us, and hit the bell icon. And now you will be alerted about all of the amazing videos that we release.